All right, so good morning, everyone, and welcome to our directors meeting for the month of January. Today is January 22nd of 2021. Thanks to those who are in attendance today. And with that being said, I am going to turn it over to Vic Jarvis.
Hey, thanks, Crystal. Good morning, everyone. I've got some updates that are even before we get to the agenda updates. First off, the quarter one claims for CASA were processed on Tuesday this week. So if you check your accounts, you should find that you've been paid for quarter one. Things just seem to go kind of slow with all this pandemic and the extra caution we're having to use. Always, if there's a delay in your payment, let me know. A couple of you had sent out emails, and that helped me to push things along so you could get your money in a timely fashion. Okay, the next one I want to talk about, non-public consultation. That's on our grant, but you probably weren't aware that every year that can be renewed. And normally the non-pubs, if they've said they didn't want to participate, they don't revisit it every year. This year's a little different. The non-public every year can say, they could change their mind and say, yeah, we want to participate now. It might be a good idea for you to go and download that guide to non-public consultation, and that provides you with some background information. So if you do a consultation with a non-pub who this year says they want to participate, even though the time you did your application, they said no, they've changed their mind. You're consulting this year, but it's for the next school year. It doesn't take effect immediately. So that's one important note. Second, you do not have to provide transportation. The non-pubs are responsible to get their kids to that are participating to your site. Okay, so those are two very important clarifications. Some additional updates. I sent out an email today about CASA claims being due by January 31st, and you should get it in as soon as possible, because if there's an issue that you forgot something, I cannot approve the claim until you re-upload. And there's been already a couple of things where there were some issues with the claim and folks had to go in and re-upload some things. So it's better to get that in a little bit sooner than wait till the last day. Okay, and I sent out another email about the APR. We're in the last reporting period for spring. If you didn't have data if you didn't have any data because you didn't run a program because of COVID, there's a text box for you to type in how the virus affected your program, and you'll check the little box that says we didn't have data to report. So you still got to go into the system and write your comments and check the box and make sure that your entry gets recorded. Now, on a positive note, Iowa's been awarded $2.2 million for a CTE grant that affects our 4 high schools in the state. And so that's some good news. It's a 5-year grant. And we asked for 500,000, we got 465,000. So they made a little reduction, but that's still good news. Also, there's another grant in the works we haven't heard back from, and that's our partnership with the Iowa Ag Literacy Foundation. That's a $3 million grant that's focusing on after-school programs, and we should know about, maybe in a couple months, and it's going to provide STEM education to after-school programs. So we've been busy, and my final good news is this year we had a smaller amount of money, but next year we're scheduled to have a $2 million increase in our 21st Century Fund. So lots of good news coming up. Okay, I'd like to share with you some slides about the new GEPRA measures. Okay, and I don't see it on my end.
Yeah. I think perhaps you need to hit that new share button, Vic. If you had our agenda pulled up, you'll want to grab your PowerPoint and then hit new share, and you can share from your screen.
Okay, hold on a second. Give me a second here. Trying to bring up the information. Ah, here it is. Okay. So the new GEPRA measures are being changed in order to better reflect our program. And it's going to take a couple of years for us to go through the implementation on this. You guys see that slide?
Vic, we can see a slide that says why new GEPRA,
Okay.
but it looks like perhaps it's in a photo clipboard platform.
Let me change the program that I'm using to access it.
This is Emily. We had the same issue with a slideshow yesterday, and it never really kind of worked itself out. I think it might be Zoom's update, but who was sharing the PowerPoint before? Was that you, Crystal?
I was sharing previously the agenda, Emily, but
Oh, okay. Do you want to try to pull the PowerPoint up, Crystal? That seemed to work yesterday when I had someone else pull up the PowerPoint.
I'm sorry, Emily, you broke up a little bit. Can you say that again?
Sorry. Yeah, it worked itself out when I had somebody else. There we go.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
We appreciate a different graphic viewing program that I thought might work better, and it is. Okay, so our first GEPRA measure is going to be on academic achievement. And so that's going to be reading and math. And It's going to start, looks like it's starting at grades 4 through 8. Now, another thing about the GEPRA measures is we're going to change how we count kids. So then the second one is going to be in grades 7 through 8, which is our secondary students. And we're going to take a look at GPA. And I know the Boys and Girls Club have submitted local evaluation data showing improvement in students' GPA. So that may be something that we have to do a workshop on how to calculate GPA if we don't normally do that. But I don't think that'll be insurmountable. Okay, the third one is attendance. Now, this is going to be really good because we're going to do away with the student that has attended 30 days as a minimum criteria. We're now going to start counting all the kids. So if you had a kid attend 1 day, you'll count that kid for the 1 day. And that's a good thing. The fourth one is going to be behavior. And I know I've talked about this again. They're going to be looking at in-school suspensions. And every principal that I've ever talked to in Iowa has that data available. The principal can run a report from your student information system on those kids that are in your after-school program to say, okay, there's been improvement in behavior. And that's better quality data than just simply doing a survey with teachers. The fifth one, engagement in learning. This is one that's going to be accomplished through a teacher survey. So we're still having that teacher survey, but it's going to be much shorter. That's it. 5 measures. So there's going to be data collected on all students, not just some of them. And we're going to still have 3 windows, but there's discussion on that may change as well. It's not for sure. They've said they might go to 2 windows. So I don't know if that'll happen or not. I know that we went to 3 windows because of Congress. Congress wanted data at different times. And so those windows are aligned to times that Congress has asked about our program. And, you know, after so many times that they've threatened to eliminate our program, I think it's not that bad to do data 3 times a year if that keeps our program going.
Vic, we do have a question in the chat box. Will you make these slides available that we can post these with the recording?
I don't know about the slides yet because these are not final from the department. But you're seeing an overview here on this recording, and the recording will be available. Here's their timeline. This year, 2021, we're still going to be working with the old GEPRA, but the new GEPRA is going to be, the transition will be that starting with summer. And we'll be working through, and then 22, 23 will be all new GEPRA. And we'll have a lot more information. Basically, this is all I have right now. So we still have plenty of time to make this transition. But I think it's a good thing. Some of those GEPRA measures were a little bit confusing. However, I was in a previous federal program, and the GEPRA measures that they had didn't match what the department was sending out to us. So we're collecting this data, we send it in, and none of it got put into the system. It just kept saying year after year, there's no data.
Okay.
So this program's been a lot better.
So Caitlin, thank you for asking that question. And we'll put together something, whether it be our own internal slide deck or an additional training or something like that if it's needed at the time. So for now, you can simply reference this recording if you'd like to go back and kind of take a look at that. If it helps you at that part of the recording, I think we're about maybe 8 to 9 minutes into the recording at this point. So
Yeah,
thank you.
These are not official Department of Ed slides. Those are ones that I made from the meeting just to give you guys an update of what's coming. There's a couple of tweaks they're still working on, and we've been having some meetings. As soon as I get those official ones from the U.S. Department of Ed, we'll be sharing those out. And of course,
Okay.
there's going to be some webinars the Department of Ed is going to pay for that, hopefully we'll be able to share those with you too.
Yeah, great. Okay, so I am attempting to bring the agenda back up, and yes, Zoom is not letting me do so. So Emily, what was your...
Because I was sharing, let me see if I can bring it up.
Yeah, sometimes you just need to switch it between two different presenters.
Well, you can take me off and then you should be able to have control.
Okay, I'm going to withdraw your co-host. Except I think you did share your screen right before I did that. So you have control of the agenda, Vic. Okay, I think we're actually at program updates item B, the APR data entry, and you also wanted to address non-compliance today, Vic. So if you want to scroll down a little bit there. Oh, just up a little bit.
There we go.
There you go. Yep.
One of the things too to be aware of is there's increasing accountability that's, starting from the feds. Here's an example. In the past, they didn't send me an email, but now the new system allows them to generate reports. So I'm getting emails on APR progress from the feds saying, hey, you've only got right now 55% of your grantees have entered in data. And as you may notice, then I've had to send out the reminder emails so that you guys get in there. And I want to thank you for 100% of you got all your APR data in the last window, and that's great. We need to do that again for this window. And it's probably going to be a lot easier because a lot of you weren't running a program in the spring and you will just click that box, no data, and write in the text box about your program and you'll be good. So across the board, there's just a lot more accountability. But, that's just something we have to deal with. And especially with more pots of money, there's going to be a little bit different things that they're going to ask for. But, I do try to keep you guys informed about compliance. And some of the stuff you'll see a lot more code citations in there. That's because at the department, they're asking us to provide more verification that we have the code behind us when we, are asking for things. But some of the things that we already do, like the 11-page checklist for site visits, that's all aligned to federal statute. I just haven't had a chance to go in there and plug in those statutes, but rest assured they are there and they align. So it's a process. Okay, and the next thing is that fact sheet on meal waivers. So maybe I should stop, and Crystal, you can bring that up. Did you send that to everyone already?
It will be sent out with the minutes, Vic. So you were just going to mention it today and maybe speak just a little bit to that, but we'll send it out with the minutes and the recording.
Wonderful. Okay, so the meal waivers, if you have kids that you may be in the regular school, they're getting the meal waiver from U.S. Department of Ed, and it's extended to the rest of the school year. So in 21st Century, you can take advantage of that too. There's also a program that for at-risk for after school that you can sign up and get extra money to provide a full meal for kids. And you'll contact our Bureau of Food and Nutrition, and you might even get a chance to get an email from Abdi, our finance guy for the last few years, who did a great job. He's moved to a higher position with the Bureau of Food and Nutrition. So this is good news for kids because there's more money being allocated to providing them with a meal.
All right. And again, we'll send that document out with the link to the recording that will be made available later today for people who want to take a look at that. Vic, before we move on, we do have a question in the chat from Beth.
Okay.
This is in regards to APR. She says, wouldn't we need to do the spring form since we would be here for January, February, and part of March? Also, participation is for fall and spring together. So Beth, feel free to unmute yourself if you'd like to verbally respond or clarify to that as well.
Well, just in the APR, when you go in to do it, we were here for part of the year in the spring term, which would be January, February, part of March. Mm-hmm. And then when you go in to do the participation one, it says it wants participation from fall and spring together.
Okay. So you will have some data to enter.
Yeah.
Yep, that's fine. But you won't have complete data like we would normally have.
Right. And that's what I put in my comments, was that due to us ending, we wouldn't have as many students reaching the 30+ level, as many students reaching the 90% level, and as many students reaching the, all those levels because of less days.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah, thank you, Beth. We appreciate that. All right, are there any other questions about APR or perhaps even the new GEPRA measures before we move on in the agenda? Okay, so Vic, I think you already kind of touched on item 2D, the allocation tables, but perhaps just mention it again, simply because we've had a few additions since you made that opening statement.
Okay, so I'm not going to share those allocation tables with you because really it just shows every state and what they got. A lot of states get more than us, and that's a fact of life because it's based on the number of kids and the number of kids on free and reduced lunch. We did go up this coming year, and so we're going to have probably around 7 million for our competition in the fall of 2021. And that's a good thing. So
thank you.
Yep.
All right. So
the ESSER.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and you've got a link to that. $300 million going out to school districts. Now, in the ESSER, one allowable expense is after-school programs. So if you know of a district that has wanted to run an after-school program, they can use ESSER funds to do that. And if you have additional kids that need to be in an after-school program because of you're running a blended program, you can use ESSER funds to pay for any additional costs. However, it's got to get approved by your district because the district will decide how those funds are going to get spent. But it's just letting you know that there's a lot of money out there for you to make those connections and make sure that the at-risk kids can get some benefit from this.
And Vic, I would just add that from the Iowa After School Alliance standpoint, if you want help reaching out to your leadership in your school districts to talk about, what this money is going to be used for and plans for potentially using it for after school or summer, we'd be happy to help with those conversations. I'm also going to drop a link in the chat box that has some talking points that you can use when talking to superintendents or principals who will be making those decisions for your district. So I'm going to drop that in now, but feel free to get a hold of Crystal, Emily, or I if you want to talk about that further.
Thank you. Yep, and I'm also available too if you want me to talk to your administrators. But it's ultimately their decision. So you're going to need to make the case that the after-school program can provide not only remediation for at-risk kids, but can help to reduce the achievement gaps in your district.
We do have a question in the chat from Barb. She wants to know with the ESSER funds, can they ask for present programs?
You mean if you have an existing program, can you use the ESSER funds?
I believe that's what she's asking, but Barb, please feel free to unmute. Yes, thank you.
Well,
That's
under
what
this
I'm
condition,
asking.
you have to be serving additional kids. Otherwise, it could be supplanting.
Okay, thanks. That clarifies that for me.
All right. Are there any other questions about ESSER funds?
I have one more question, and
Sure.
would it be funding that we could use for programs for 4 and 5-year-olds? I mean, if I presented that for like a summer school for children,
I don't see why not.
okay, I agree with you, but I just wanted to ask.
Yeah. Barb, it might be worth, clicking on that link. And again, when the meeting is done today, I'll be sending out all of these combined materials. So maybe just grab that link and do some exploration into some of those requirements as well. I think that could be very beneficial for you. And again, if you haven't noticed, Brittany did drop that link to those talking points. Those are in the chat box. So if you want to grab that right now, but then we'll also make that available in the recording, of course. So, all right. Any other things or questions about ESSER today? Okay. So apologies to everyone as to why I'm unable to share my screen now, but we do have a little bit of an update to this agenda. So the Telegram app is something that the Communications Committee has been working on. And if anybody from the Communications Committee would like to unmute and join into this conversation, it would be greatly appreciated. So I have kind of an introductory paragraph, for lack of a better word, to share with everyone today regarding what the Telegram app is. And this was actually developed by our Communications Committee. So this was in response to several comments and discussions that were had across the network, basically centered around two main ideas. The first was that especially in this time of COVID and isolation and things of that nature, we've discovered that, people in the 21st Century Network are really feeling very isolated, and that you missed that opportunity to do some of that networking. The second component that comes into this is, even though, again, we all know that Vic is a great guy and he'll do anything and everything to help you, and that the Alliance is here to help you in any way that we can help you, there is also sometimes perhaps the feeling of uncomfortability if you have a question or if you're not doing so well in a particular area, and you don't necessarily want to like wave a big flag, hey, my program's struggling with this type of thing. So the Communications Committee kind of took the need for networking and the need for problem solving before it gets perhaps to an upper level, and came up with use of this Telegram app. So now I'm going to read this introductory paragraph to you. So this is from the committee. The Telegram app is a phone or web-based platform that allows users to be grouped and share information and documents collaboratively in a secure way. The Communications Committee thinks this would be useful to use across 21st century sites in Iowa to share resources and bounce ideas off of one another on a more informal rolling basis other than those monthly committee calls. Various subgroups could exist, and those could be based on site size, age level served, or any other category that might be useful. Using the platform would allow us to build more professional relationships throughout the state and avoid that middleman, so to speak, of sending questions to IAA staff before they connect us with each other for input and brainstorming. However, I have that asterisk, so I'll come back to that. Resources such as family engagement flyers, club handouts, staff training materials, and more could be shared easily within the app to help new sites create program content with advice from fellow grant sites without the need to reinvent the wheel. So we wanted to share this with you today so that you could determine whether or not this might be a good place for you to start. And we've also, Emily was kind enough to record kind of a demonstration of what that app looks like. I'm going to put that in the box, and again, it will be included with the meeting materials as well. Emily, do you want to jump in real quick and just kind of talk briefly about what the registration process for joining Telegram might look like?
Yeah, it's very simple. It's probably one of the quickest registrations for an account that I've ever gone through. All you provide is your first name, your last name, and your phone number. It does not use your phone number for anything other than just signing up and as an identification that this is you. You don't get anything sent to your phone. It's not hooked to your phone unless you want the app on your phone. The way that I have it set up for personal internal use is I have it downloaded to my desktop. And so anything that I get for Telegram only comes to my computer. It never goes to my phone for anything. So I'll send the link to Crystal to include in the notes where you can download that app to your desktop if you'd like to try it out. But from there, it's like any other messaging app that you would use either in your iPhone or any other phone for that matter.
Device, yeah. Thank you. So we do have a question from Christine about copyright issues with that type of sharing. I am not a lawyer by any stretch of the imagination, but I do believe that there's kind of that caveat that as long as you're not profiting from a document and that you're giving due credit where credit is due, I don't believe that's an issue. If anybody else knows differently, please unmute and correct me at this point.
Crystal, let me speak to this. We're protected, first off, by the Fair Use of the Copyright Act. Then secondly, the TEACH Act modified copyright for using digital materials in an educational setting. And so if we were violating copyright, it might be like if somebody had a pirated movie that they were trying to share through the app, that might be a violation. But we're just sharing documents on teaching, helping at-risk kids, and that's covered both under Fair Use and the TEACH Act. So we should be good on that. But it's a good question. We always want to make sure that we give the authors credit. Don't just grab stuff. That would be plagiarism. That's a no-no. But yeah, we always want to do the right thing. And that the app is really nice, and it helps us to have a community of practice that you can engage with someone all the time, not just during the committee calls. However, it's not required. We're just sharing it with you for informational purposes during this meeting, and hopefully you guys will like it and want to use it.
Yeah. And then just one more thing to clarify. And again, there was the statement that I shared, that way you don't have to reach out to the Iowa After School Alliance to help make those connections for you. Please understand that this is why we're here for you in this capacity. We absolutely can help you to make those connections, to access resources, brainstorm ideas with you, and so on and so forth. So please don't discount us. We're still here for you, whether that be formally or even informally. I know I've had several phone calls with a few of you who are like, just help me kind of brainstorm through this issue. I'm still very happy to do that. I know my coworkers, Emily and Brittany, are available to you as well. And of course, you know, Vic is available to you for any of your questions that pertain to anything that you need to run past him. But again, the Telegram app, just consider it another tool in your toolbox. It might be something that you would maybe even want to share with your next level of staff who are helping with perhaps the more day-to-day operations, if that's not your role. But again, we just wanted to be sure that everybody was aware of that, and that it was, if it's interesting to you, we would love to have you join. Immediately in my mind, one of the things that popped into my head is, you know, again, we have a subgroup of grantees who are serving kind of those middle school, high school age youth. This might be a great way for you to make those connections, to bounce those ideas off of each other pertaining to that particular group. I have had another discussion with another site who has been kind of dealing with some staffing issues, perhaps. That might be another great subgroup where you talk about, you know, ways that you can engage and recruit and retain some staff. So, and again, we're happy to be a part of those conversations too. So, all right. So Vic, I am still unable to share my screen. Do you want to pop the agenda back up, please?
Sure.
And we're now up to item number 3, the financial updates there, Vic.
Okay. Well, I want to clarify a couple of things with the CASA system. Everybody is on there now for payments, but it operates differently from Iowa grants. With Iowa grants, when you turned in a claim and I approved it, it immediately went down for payment. Not so with the CASA system. The CASA system is batch process. So after the window ends, they go through and double check all the claims, and then it'll be processed from then on. And so that's a little different, and it's a little bit longer to get your money. And even if you don't have a claim, you need to go into the system and, you know, put down that you've had a 0 for that claim. Now, one of the things that we're still in discussion is the DE maintains a list of risk for every district in the, you know, in the state, and that may eventually be tied into title programs. So I'm just letting you know that this could be coming, if that happens, then we will address it at that point. But there is a list, and you know, I don't know if they share that with everyone or it might be just internal. Anyway, second quarter is going on now, and I've done 9 claims so far. So some of you still need to work on getting your stuff in, and I'll probably do a couple more after this call. But all in all, it's pretty good. Please upload the spreadsheet rather than a PDF. There's been a couple of cases where you put the stuff through the scanner and I just get the summary page. I don't get the, you know, the category details. And when that happens, I can't approve it. I have to send you an email. But if you just upload that spreadsheet, I can see everything in there, and that in your general ledger, and it makes it a little faster for me to be able to approve it and have it go through the system. Okay, let's move
Thank
down
you.
the agenda.
Are there any questions about financial claim CASA updates before we move on to item number 4? Okay. If you think of something, please feel free to use the chat, or you can always unmute and ask those questions. So item number 4, we now have some updates from the Iowa After School Alliance, and I'm going to ask Brittany and Emily to unmute and jump in here if there are things that we need to share here. Right out the gate, I had sent an email out maybe a couple of weeks ago, and then I sent a reminder out this week that if any of you are interested in hosting a Summer Ladders AmeriCorps program, becoming a site, we do have a SurveyMonkey link there that we would need you to complete. This is not necessarily a commitment to participate in that program, and thank you, Brittany, for dropping that into the box. It's not necessarily a commitment to participate in the summer program, but if you're interested and you want to learn some more, please complete that survey, and a member of the IAA team will be reaching out to you. Brittany, I think we're kind of leaning towards the end of the month that we'd like to have that completed. Is that true?
Yes, we'd like to have those interest forms completed by the end of January so we can start making decisions for host sites in early February and get that process going. We have a total of 12 AmeriCorps members we have funding for, but there is a cost share for host sites. So please, all that information is included on that link that I shared in the chat and that we'll send out after this. I would just say that I know that, we're still in a pandemic and things are up in the air, of course, still. But I know that our programs that had AmeriCorps members last summer really benefited from it. And the members were able to help them transition and really pivot during the pandemic. And I think these AmeriCorps members will be, essential to help us get kids back on track this summer. So really encourage you to think about it. And if you have any questions, please reach out to the team here.
Absolutely, thank you. So next on the updates, item B is service learning mini grants. Again, this was an email that I had sent out approximately a week ago, and thanks to Emily for putting it into a beautiful format. For those of you who perhaps participated in our service learning best practice webinar or in our workshop at the Impact Conference, and maybe, something kind of sparked with you thinking about ways you could incorporate a service learning model with your program. We are happy to announce we have these mini grants available to kind of help boost that particular program for you. So if you are interested in learning more about that, please refer to the email that I had sent out. And if you're unable to find that, go ahead and reach out to me and I'm happy to send you the information with the link for the application in and of itself. Brittany, do you want to talk about item C, new data from America After 3?
Sure. So every few years or so, the After School Alliance at the national level does a study of after school programming and demand for after school programming across the nation. And they collect enough data so we're able to disaggregate it by state. And so we just wanted to share that this data has been completed and reports have been made for Iowa's a state of after school in 2020, but this data is before the pandemic started, so it's not skewed or anything. So I'm going to drop this link into the chat here for you really quick so you can explore this data, but just at a high level, I will say that we have seen that demand for after school programming is growing. In 2014, we knew that there was about 140,000 kids that would be in after school programming if one was available to them. Now that number is about 196,000. So the demand for after school is not going anywhere. In fact, it's increasing. And so that makes our work even more important that we're all doing. And another kind of key stat from that report is that for every one student in an after school programming in Iowa, 4 are waiting to get in. So again, that demand is very high. And more on the positive side, I suppose, 96% of parents who have children in after school programs in Iowa are highly satisfied with their programming. So that's kudos to you all for the great things you do in your communities. But wanted to share this information with you so that you can use it in your communities and with your schools and community leaders to really raise awareness about the need for after school in your communities too. Even though you have your programs, I'm sure you could there's more kids that could be served. So wanted to share that as a resource and urge you to look at that data because it's pretty compelling.
And just one more thing that I would kind of add to that is, thinking about using data to the best of your ability to tell your story and advocate for your program. Next Tuesday is our best practice webinar, and we will have Brittany Samuelson and Emily Harris presenting on advocacy. They have put together a really great presentation that doesn't just speak to legislators in Des Moines, but then also how to maybe advocate on a more local level as well. So if you're able, love to have you tune in next Tuesday at 10 o'clock for our best practice webinar. But again, if you can't, those will also be recorded. Brittany, I'm going to stick with you and have you talk now about the diversity, equity, and inclusion training opportunity.
Great, thanks, Crystal. So the Iowa After School Alliance has created a committee on our strategic leadership team to really focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion and what our organization can do to promote those topics in our after school programs across Iowa and among our organization. And so one thing that we have pinpointed as a goal for this committee is to offer more trainings in this area of diversity, equity, and inclusion to after school providers across the state. And so we have found somebody who can offer these trainings for free. And so we're playing around with the idea of doing a series of workshops on these topics for program directors across Iowa. And we're hopeful that some of you would be able to or be interested in participating in that. So just wanted to kind of get a sense if folks would be interested in participating in that, maybe raise your hand or put in the chat or something, or, give us some sort of signal that you'd be interested in that. And then the next thing that we want is to kind of think about when the timing would be appropriate for you guys. We know that you're swamped with COVID and everything going on, but we want to offer this training at a time that's convenient for you. So if anyone has thoughts about, is March or April a good time, or, when would this work for your programs? If anybody has any immediate thoughts that they want to unmute themselves, chime in on, or chime in on the chat, what would make sense for you guys?
Yeah. And thank you to those who have already indicated that, yes, you're interested in this opportunity in the chat box. So again, if you care to drop in, thank you, Barb, you said April or May. Again, March, April, May, June, whatever month is going to work best into your schedules. If you wouldn't mind dropping that in now, that would be greatly appreciated.
Great. Yeah, and like I said, we're thinking this would be a series. And so a few separate kind of professional development offerings that kind of build off of the one before it. And then, of course, these will probably be virtual for the spring. I'm not seeing that changing anytime soon, but my hope is that we can maybe do a staff training in the fall in person. So hopefully you all as program directors can get kind of the foundation set this spring, get bought into it, get excited about it, and then we can really work with frontline staff in the fall to offer something similar. So that's the plan. If anyone has thoughts about it, I'd love to chat. This is something we're pretty excited about and hope you all can get excited about too.
And again, just one more plug that I would kind of put towards that. So for those of you who perhaps don't know this about me, I have over 20 years of grant writing experience, and I would definitely tell you that there is certainly a funding leaning towards anything that has to do with diversity, equity, and inclusion. So I do think, while again, there's no promises to this, of course, but I do think that, by perhaps participating in this and getting some of that groundwork level foundation built for yourself, along with everything that you may have already done, you may actually be better aligning yourself for some future funding sources. So just kind of another thing to think about there. So. All right. Okay, so Brittany, today we were also going to talk about our stakeholder input need for the MOT application.
Yep, me again. So every 3 years or so, the Iowa After School Alliance goes through a strategic planning process. as part of an application for one of our biggest funders, the Mott Foundation. They fund every after school alliance across the country in every state. So we, as part of this input process, we are hoping to get some guidance from our stakeholders about what we really should focus on the next 3 years, how we've been doing the past 3 years, or however long you've been in touch with us. And so this could look like a conversation with us. It could look like a survey. So I just wanted to flag this for you. We'll send out an email so that we can get a group together to really kind of give us this input and the guidance we need. But wanted to flag it for you because our hope is always to serve you all in the way that you need it. So we want to make sure that we're aligning with whatever your needs are. And the best way to do that is to get some feedback and input from you. So just keep an eye out for that. That should be coming in the next week or two.
And again, we so appreciate your response. You know, when we ask you to do surveys or we ask you to have conversations, we know you are terribly busy people, and just know that we really do appreciate that, you know, we take your input and we hope to make some really great strides moving forward with that. So the agenda that Vicki's sharing is actually a little bit outdated. We did add one more item as an update from the Iowa After School Alliance, and that is our A+ After School Award.
Oh.
So I'm going to ask Emily to unmute. And Emily, if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit about that award, that would be great.
Yes. So following Lights On this past fall, we recognized that there is a lot of support that we could be giving, and shout outs and praise to the programs across the state, especially for how well everybody has been doing in the pandemic and just how everybody has supported Iowa's youth throughout the year. And we wanted to extend what we do with after school or with what we do with Lights On, because the point of that celebration is to really highlight all of the wonderful things that you are all doing. And we want to extend that throughout the year. So we created the A+ After School Award, which is a monthly award that we give out to programs. There's an application form. I will drop that in the chat right after I'm done talking, but anybody can nominate anyone. It can be a program, it can be staff at a program, it can be students at a program. And each month we pick one program to highlight both on our social media and in our newsletter. And so it's just a good way to kind of keep morale raised. But more importantly, it also serves as a way for us to catalog all of the awesome work that's going on around the state, so that we have great stories to use when we're asking for further support from other community partners. So we would appreciate if you would all try to submit a nominee for the award. We are looking for somebody for February, or for the end of the month for January's newsletter. So the sooner the better. But you can put in a little bio about them, and you can submit photos for us to use as well. It's just a little bit of fun to also keep everyone's spirits up. So thanks.
Thank you, Emily.
Yep, I think this is a wonderful program, and I encourage all of you to apply. You know, I hear a lot of great things that are going on in the field, and a lot of it just goes and nobody hears about it, and we need to really recognize things that are going on. Let me share one item with you. For Christmas, there was a single mom, a couple of kids, who was homeless. Kids in the 21st Century Program helped to build her a house, along with a couple of churches, you know, because some of our kids aren't strong enough to, raise up a wall. So it was a combined effort, but these kids were, actually working on the house as part of their, service learning. And, we don't really have a mechanism for recognizing that. I hear tons of wonderful things that are going on in the communities that the kids are participating in. And I would encourage all of you to learn more about this and, apply for some of the wonderful things that are going on in your community. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So here we were worried that our agenda was rather lengthy today, so we scheduled our time until 11:30, and we've actually made it through all of the agenda items except the very last one, which is to say just that gentle reminder that these meetings are recorded and they are posted to our website. So I will drop the link where you can find these recordings and supporting materials in for every director's call. Let me grab that, put that in the box there for you. Before we sign off for the day, though, I do think that it would be good to give you all a chance if anybody has, again, questions, if you're in need of resources or information or materials or something like that, please feel free to unmute and share with the group, and we can see if maybe we can make some connections for you. Quiet group today. Perhaps you're all like me and you're like, hey, I made it to Friday. It's a good day. So, all right. Well, as always, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're here for you to support you in whatever way we can. Hope to see you all soon at the Best Practice webinar next week. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions about links or where to find things on the website. And with that being said, Vic, unless you have something else, I think we can wrap it up for the day.
Oh, thank you all for attending, and hope you have a wonderful 2021.
Goodbye, everyone. All right. So it looks like Chuck had to step away, and I bet Emily is with Leon. So, all right, I'm going to stop this recording